Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ground Zero. Today, if you couldn't tell, I'm on my own. So I thought today I'll just go through an episode where I'll tell you a bit about myself, so you can get to know me a bit better, and also talk about first time dealing with setbacks because I've dealt with many in the past. So I thought I could do a little solo episode talking about that. You get to know me a bit more. So I've been down in Dorset my whole life in Poole. Um, Growing up, I went through many different schools, many that I didn't have many friends in. So growing up, it was tough, but eventually you find yourself to a point where you know where you want to go, and it doesn't matter as much to you, if that makes sense. So going through school, I've been told the usual, like, you're not going to do well at your GCSEs. I came out with plenty. Like, I got all the main ones, I got extra curriculum ones, and then this is the first setback is I wanted to do um, business for A level at my GCSE school, and they said essentially, you're not good enough. So I went on, did a level two course at the exact same school, which I've just finished my GCSEs, and level two is essentially getting your GCSE, like GCSE equivalent qualification. I came out with straight A stars in business, and then I went on to do business at A level, in which, again, apparently I wasn't good at, passed double business and IT. So going through that transition of not being good enough to being able to do it was quite phenomenal and something that I'll hold to myself, at least for the near future, of that's an obstacle I overcome. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to go into business, and it was a case of, well, what type? Because you've got marketing, you've got business administration, you've got finance, uh, you've got all sorts. You've got the classic one nowadays for young people where you go down the entrepreneurial ship. You might not even want to go down selling that route and just go podcasts, social media. You could be gaming, but business because you're marketing the gaming. You can really do that. Business nowadays is so open-ended. When someone says, I want to do business, you go, that's cool, but where? What avenue do you want to set yourself in? Because you can't say, I want to do business, I want to be the best businessman, because then you're saying, okay, I want to be the best marketer, best business administrator. You're basically saying that you want to be the best in everything in business, which is too broad. So I really had to sit down and think. I was like, what could I see myself doing long term? And business administration, I was good at it, but it never really struck out to me. And then marketing hit, and I was like, okay. I looked into it a bit deeper. I realized that it is pretty much the future. Like, all businesses won't be a thing without marketing. If you want to grow personally, you can't grow without market. I realized that everything evolved around marketing, whether you have a team or whether you do it yourself, or whether you're in a team that works around you in it. So as soon as I realized the core of everything was marketing, was when I went, I want to go down that route. So then I applied for a digital marketing apprenticeship, and that's when I ended up at the college, down in Bournemouth. Um, it was a very quick process, mainly because I think of the grades and my attitude, because I went in with all the GCSEs, the straight A stars at level two, plus the A levels. Going into an apprenticeship, you can't really fault that you're not going to do well to some extent. So I went through all that, passed all the exams, Then went on to the Sim, which is a massive project of an international qualification, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, in which I got a merit in. And then going throughout the course, it's the endpoint assessment with the portfolio and doing the rest of it, in which I've now just passed. So essentially, the main point of me going to dealing with the first setbacks is back before all this. So I did complete the level two. I think it was equivalent to 4 A stars in business. So 4 A stars in business, a CB at A level, and then pass my sim, pass the digital marketing apprenticeship. But way before that, I got told I was not good enough and I could not even get into business GCSE. And now you look back, it's you just got to laugh at it because you've been told, look, you're not good enough, and yet you've come all this way and now you're working in the thing you weren't good enough in. So I get when people make a prediction, it's based off like predicted grades, but I think the school system messes up because it doesn't give pupils enough opportunity. Pardon me. So you get pupils that apply and get told no. There's no option of foundation up until you get to university. Um, there's no like even like a lower version. So maybe instead of a GCSE business, a vocational business where you do more coursework based. There's no lower end of it and there's no foundation for you to get in. It's just no. And this is an issue because someone else in my shoes could have easily gone, okay, they're right. I'm not good enough. Off I go. But the thing is, because I wanted to go into business so badly, I kept pushing. I found ways around it, like the level two. Then from that, I used those grades to get into A level, used those grades, then bolster myself into the apprenticeship. And now here I am in a full-time business role. Uh, I'm I'm doing this podcast, which is business because I've got to talk about it, know my stuff, then market the business so it actually gets the viewers, which is you, to come watch. And it's all began from the fire being ignited even more from getting told, look, you can't do it. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be people all around. Like I can rest assured, if I went around, even the first time public speaking at a You Are the Media lunch club not too long ago, if I went around and told everyone this is what I was doing, I kept it a bit low key and didn't really tell anyone. But if I went around spreading it, telling everyone, they'd be like, "You public speaking? Probably not." But what you got to realize is that most of this, obviously in schools, it's a bit different. But when you go into the outside world, if someone go like, let's go for example, if you want to go and public speak for the first time, and someone goes, "You can't do it because you are not good enough, you are not confident enough." 90% of the time, I find it's out of pure jealousy. It's because they've realized that they can't do it themselves, so they want to make you stop doing it. And this is important because psychologically, if they're doing that out of jealousy, they know that you can do it, but they don't want you to do it. That's the difference. So what I've found is by going, okay, cool. You think I can't do it? Watch me. That's the simple attitude I took. Okay, teachers, you don't think I'm good enough? Watch me. And look, from you're not good enough to where I am now, I've proven I'm well capable to be in the business world and stand on my own 2 feet without anyone dragging my leg or pulling my hand. It's, I think, end of the day, it comes down to pure attitude. So if you go into something half-hearted or low energy, you're obviously, if someone tells you no, you're not going to be able to do it at all. But it's that mindset of, hang on, they're saying I can't do it, but I think I can. But it's which value are you going to take more? Are you going to take someone else's word or your own word? Because for me, if I say something, I hold my word to a very strong principle. Before I didn't, I said before I was going to go into like gaming YouTube, I was going to do this, I was going to do that, and they never happened. It was all talk, no execution. Whereas now I've realized that your word is so crucial, especially as a man. Like, if you say you're going to do something and you want to be respected, even as a female, if you say something you want to be respected, you can't just say something and not do it. So if you've now got the position where this person's saying you can't do it, but you're saying you can, are you gonna really take theirs over yours? Or are you gonna take your opinion and absolutely ride with it? Because that's what I did. I had the teacher, you can't do it. Me, I think I can go in this business world. Was I gonna let the teacher decide what I was gonna do? Or was I gonna take my own? Thankfully, I took my own and rode with it. And look, I found I was capable. So it's just dictating your mind whether, like, there's a difference of, I don't know, let's say you can't play any instruments of music, you can't sing, for example. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't, but let's say in this scenario you can't, and someone says you can't, and you have got an awareness that this might not be your field. If you then strive to be in that, sometimes that's a little bit sick. So you got to be obviously balance out. But if you know that you can do it, like there's no doubt whatsoever, then yeah, I'd block out any opinion other than your own. Because end of the day, it's what do you want to benefit from it? What do you want to learn from it? Do you want to go into this field as a job? Do you want to use the field to provide something that you want to do? Like in business nowadays, you can go down the traditional 9 to 5, but if you wanted to, you could build something in business around yourself outside of the 9 to 5. So you've got people nowadays with online stores, you've got people going to Amazon, you've got people starting clothing brands, podcasts, their own agents. You've got all sorts out there now, and it's not at a point where you go into a 9 to 5 and that's the only option. You've now come into a world where there's such a variety of options. I don't think anyone with their whole heart can say no one will succeed in it because there's so many options that you're bound to get something. If you're good at numbers, go into accountancy. If you're good at filing and organizing, you got business administration. If you're good at reaching people's hearts and dictating whether they want to buy into something or someone, go into marketing. If you're good at talking, podcasts. Like, there's so much skills in business now which you need that I don't really think someone can say no to. So, yeah, so I grew up in Dorset around the Pool area. I was born in 2003. So I am 20. I'm 21 in about 2.5 months-ish. So I'm very young in my career. I'm aware of that. And yeah, so from a quite a rural area in comparison to some places. So some people could say, oh, if you're born in London or Manchester, you're at a really big advantage because you're in the big cities with loads of people to connect to and loads of job opportunities. But nowadays with internet, I don't think that matters anymore. So I grew up in quite a rural area, went through primary school. Uh, I think I went to two, and then going through second. So through primary school, I was actually a very good student. I was top of the class in some things, and then I think this is where the teachers may be twisted because when I got to secondary school, is when you fall under the classic peer pressure. You sort of you're so young. I think you're like 12, 13 when you go into secondary school that you don't realize who you're hanging out with affects what you do. So I went in, I was, I hold it with pride now. I wish I stuck to it, but I was that annoying kid that would ask for homework. I said it, but that, as bad. The thing is, it's so backwards nowadays where if you want to do well at school to get the grades to go in a career that you want, you're called a geek or a nerd and you're uncool. But then if you go in and fail everything and mess around, you're the cool kid. So then I adopted the, okay, people don't like me, people find me annoying because I'm asking for homework and wanting to do well, not hanging out as much. This is when I started becoming the class clown. I started getting detentions, isolations, and it really went downhill. Got to year 10, picked all my GCSEs, and still had that laid back, lazy attitude to the point where my report came back and I was failing in nearly everything. And the first thing was I saw my mum, and I'm gonna be honest, I saw a bit of disappointment, but also she was a bit upset. So I was like, right, I need to turn this around, and I need to turn this around quick. So I knuckled down. Any revision session I went to, I remember there was I actually never forget this because it's the most ironic thing. So there's this English revision session where you could get pizza from Domino's and you'd revise for your GCSEs for English. I think this was, I want to say literature. And we prepared some questions on this book. It was like some practice questions. They're like, okay, remember these quotes if this comes up. Ironically, one of the questions that we practiced the night before, bear in mind you don't have any of the paper to know what's going to be asked, was one of the questions. So that year I really got my head down and buckled up, and I ended up going from expected to fail all of them to coming out with 7 GCSEs. So that was, and then that's when I wanted to do business, and they said, look, no, pretty much. Did level 2, and I stayed in that I'm gonna do well in this mindset, and then came out with the A stars, even in, so I got 4 business A stars, one in travel and tourism, which is good. And then A level came, and this was a scenario where, like in the last episode with Trisha, we talked about the first time going into an event. And what I love about that open-ended episode is it's not just about first time going to events. It could be like first, you can link it to going to school. So if you are 16, moving school, whatever, you can take that first time going to an event and take it into school life. So you're not you're not going to go into a new school and just sit in the corner and do absolutely nothing, because then you'll be on your own for the whole time at the school doing nothing. So I went, I made my friends. Thankfully, I picked them a bit wiser this time, and I'm still best mates with 2 of them, and I talk to most of them briefly to this day, not as much as before, but I tap in here and there. And granted, we had our fun, we went out and we enjoyed ourselves, but they also were doing well academically, which I think kept me grounded. Um, and then finished all the coursework. There's a few hiccups, like within 2 weeks there's 5 essays set, and they were all 20 plus pages long. So half the week you weren't talking to anyone, you were just literally writing them up because they misplanned. But it was good overall. Passed, so went into the apprenticeship, and this is where the difference comes in. And this is where You the Media has helped phenomenally. So with this apprenticeship of mine, yes, at the start I started making friends within the workplace, but you've now gone from the school friends to work friends, and this is completely different because your school friends are in your year, you can hang out, you can have fun. These work friends, you've got to have a professional relationship for the workplace, but if you meet outside, you've also got to have that friendship. And not everyone's going to be your age. So me going in at 20, there's some that will be my age. There'll be some that's 25, 30s, some that might even go all the way up to 60. You don't know. You don't know what's in the workplace until you're there. So you've really got to find a contrast of what you can say and what you can't really. Um, that's why you try to stay away from controversial topics, and that's why I say you stay out of religion, politics, all this. Save that for the outside friendship, but in the workspace, keep the conversations professional. And find that balance from school where even in lessons you can muck around if you wanted to now, hold on, I'm getting paid here. If I say a messed up thing or don't follow the rules, I'm going to get sacked or fired, or the whole workforce isn't going to like me. So find that balance is really hard. And with the other media, what they do really well, this is later on into my apprenticeship, where Mark came in, he did talk about what the other media are, on how it's all community based and there's events and there's a whole website for it. So if you go to your other media, type it in on Google, you'll find it and the whole website's there. I'm pretty sure there's a video of Mark describing it perfectly, or you can connect with Mark on LinkedIn and I'm sure he'll happily explain it a bit more. But it's essentially a gateway from young adults going from education into the work world because if you get chucked in straight away, you're going to get a bit lost. Um, and Mark, he's been a massive help, and I'm always thankful for him. So I've realized this, and we're going through lessons on like how to bolster your LinkedIn, how to battle imposter syndrome, everything. And then I went up to Mark and I was like, look, I don't know what it is, but I want to do something outside of work that's for me, something that can keep me growing, keep others growing, but also benefiting the people. And I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. And Mark just said, well, have you thought of a podcast? I went, it's the classic, because you've been told before that you can't do something, it's the classic back of your head thoughts of, can you do it? And here I am. So obviously I went with, I can do it. And then the whole idea progressed. And then Mark got me up public speaking at an event about my podcast. So there's me develop my public speaking skills and confidence. Um, and then people came up and they were encouraging. They said, because I went up to them, I was like, look, I'm going to be honest, I was nervous. I felt like I messed up there because you've never done it before and you're outside your comfort zone. And I think conquering that and realizing that you can do it is the best thing you can do. So I was going up, I was like, I've messed up. I don't think it's good. But then they come up and saying, look, you were fine. I didn't even know you were nervous. And that was a real booster for me because then I realized, hang on, if I just overthought this and I'm thinking that I didn't do it, I didn't succeed when actually I did. So, and then to start with, Mark started getting me a few guests. So I had the pleasure. So I reached out to Tim. Well, yeah, I talked to Tim. That's the first episode he came on. And that's my first ever recording for a podcast. I had no clue what I was doing. I still had the classic school conversations where you're trying to be a bit humoric and you're not really being yourself. And as the episodes went on, when I talked to Matt King, I then talked to Liam Toms, Ben Eggington, and then um I had Trisha, I had all these guests that I talked to, and I became a bit more comfortable. I knew how because you got many types of podcasts. You got the ones where they're all calm and talking. You got some that are erratic, and you just go, "Oh, this is my favorite one. I'm going to be like that." When really, what you should be doing is, "Hang on, what are my values? What do I believe in, and how do I want this to run?" And from there, I found what I wanted to talk like, how I wanted to appear myself. Because I could have quite easily been like, I don't know, I like the Impulsive podcast, or I like the George Danko show, or the Joe Rogan. I can't remember what that's got. I think it's literally called the Joe Rogan show. I like him. I'm going to imitate that, but no, because as soon as you try and imitate that person, you're now just a double of them. When really you want to cave a past, saying, no, I want to be the one that's inspiring people, and they go, I want to be like Ground Zero, but take away that I want to be like them. And if they watch the content, they realize that I actually preach be yourself. Be yourself. There's no one like you at all. There's no one like you. There's no one like Logan Paul. There's no one like Joe Rogan. There's no one like George Stanko, and there's no one like Ben Franklin. So take that and actually drive with it. Be yourself. If if you know how to bounce off people's energies, do it. Like some interviews, I'm calm, and with Trisha Lewis, I was a bit more upbeat because that was the vibe of the podcast. Trisha, she, she lovely woman, but she's typically a bit more upbeat, a bit more jokey. So you match that, and then with Ben Eggington and Matt King, they're a lot more sit down. You can have a serious or casual conversation, or you can have a bit of a laugh. But you ride with that. The point of a podcast is being yourself, but making the guests as comfortable as they can. So by taking that, like if I went into, I don't know, the Tim Watson episode, and I went, "Hey Tim, how you doing?" and making all these jokes, would that be appropriate? I don't know. I There might be a way that works. I need to get to know Tim a lot better for to know that works. But off first impression, there it's hard with first impressions because you're trying to make yourself look as good as possible, and most of the time you're talking in a normal conversation. So you can't really tell if someone is too upbeat and goofy or if they are serious business person. So you got to find that balance when you first meet people, unless you've actually been in there and seen them firsthand. Like with Trisha, before even going into the episode, I've seen her a couple of times. We've talked, so I knew what she was like, and I knew I could bounce off that. Whereas with Tim, the first episode recording, I didn't really know him as such. We've had a few conversations, but not too much to know. Oh, I could go this path and it would work. So it's all about adjusting, being yourself, and staying true. So now I've passed my digital marketing course. I'm now a full-time employee. I got the job, and yeah, I've gone from the little kid from Dorset around Poole, getting told he's not good enough, to being in this industry standing strong. And with all the setbacks I've had from the going from a good student in primary school to going into the class clown to then flipping up and actually sorting my act out to where I am now. There's been so many. You got the you're not good enough, dropping down, switching schools. Um, Even for the first period of going to a school, it was about a 10-minute drive away and I didn't have a car. So even just like asking for a lift to get that distance was a setback because if my parents didn't give me a lift, I would have probably had to get a 40-minute bus out to Poole to then come into the school because there's no direct bus straight there. So there's a load of potential setbacks and setbacks that you will face, but it's just knowing that if you believe you can do it and you know you can, there's a deep feeling that you can. Just take your own opinion over others because most of the time, if you don't do it and you take the others and you still think that you could do it, you're going to lead with regret. And with regret comes demotivation, in some cases, depression, and it's not something I want to do. So even if you hold to your opinion, go, no, I want to do this, I believe I can do it, and you do it and you fail, at least you failed on your own opinion instead of others. That's the key. To have peace at heart, you have to either fail or succeed doing what you want to do instead of what others want you to do. And that's the key to it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. It's been a very vulnerable episode. I'd say, more open than ever online about my upbringing and difficulties going through getting to where I am now. Um, so I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you did enjoy this different type of episode, even though there's no guest. Um, and yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.